Shirley Jones reveals the 5 most evil actors of Hollywood's golden age. When Shirley Jones said she had a confession at age 91, everyone assumed it would be something gentle and harmless, a sweet little story, just like the wholesome image she carried her entire life. But then Shirley gave a soft smile, folded her hands in front of her, and suddenly the atmosphere shifted. "Honestly, I never thought I would tell this to anyone," she said slowly. "It's too personal, too vivid. But now, looking back on my life, I believe some stories deserve to be spoken, not to show off, but to remember the moments that truly made my heart beat." The room fell silent. Shirley revealed that throughout nearly 60 years in Hollywood, there were 6 men who stirred her in ways no one ever imagined. 6 men who made her lose focus, forget her lines, break her own rules, and occasionally forget the boundaries she had protected for most of her life. Then she lowered her head slightly and took a long, steady breath, as if preparing to reveal the final name, the one no one dared to guess. When she finally whispered it, the interviewer froze, completely forgetting the camera was still rolling. Because that name stopped the entire room cold. Frank Sinatra, a dangerously magnetic force Shirley Jones knew she shouldn't want, yet simply couldn't resist. She never denied it. She openly admitted that Frank was the one temptation capable of stripping away her logic, the one man who made her consider breaking every rule she had ever set for herself. And it all began with a moment almost no one knew about. One night in 1961, right after a live performance in Palm Springs. A backstage moment she still remembers with a chill. The moment Frank looked at her and she understood instantly that something had shifted. Shirley had barely stepped off stage when Frank walked straight toward her. No hesitation, no polite excuse. He took her hand, warm, firm, and deliberately lingering, then leaned in close to whisper, "Kid, when you walk on stage, the whole room breathes different." She froze. Sinatra didn't give compliments like that. Not randomly. Never without intention. Later she admitted the truth. It felt like he had crossed a line, and the most dangerous part was, she wanted him to cross it. Frank Sinatra wasn't just an entertainer. He was a storm, powerful, unpredictable, irresistibly alluring, with a reputation larger than any studio in Hollywood. Everyone knew that getting too close meant risking burn marks. And yet Shirley, young, luminous, rising fast, found herself pulled into his orbit like countless women before her. He would sit in the front row during her performances. Not cheering, not smiling, just watching her with a quiet, scorching intensity that made her forget half her lyrics on stage. Co-stars whispered, audiences noticed, but Shirley didn't care. Because when Frank looked at you, she later said, you felt like the only person on the entire planet. And that's a dangerous thing for a woman to feel. He made her nervous. He made her bold. He made her want things she knew she shouldn't want. Frank Sinatra wasn't the first man she admired. But he was the first man who made Shirley Jones truly wonder what might happen if that chemistry ever dared to slip off stage. Cary Grant, the kind of man who could make Shirley's body react before her mind had time to understand what was happening, became an unexpected temptation in her life, and that was only the beginning. From the very first moment he stood close enough for his breath to brush her cheek, Shirley Jones felt a sudden jolt run along her spine, a reaction so intense she later admitted she'd never experienced anything like it with any other man. That first spark didn't fade. Instead, it grew into a quiet, persistent pull she couldn't shake. The moment that sealed everything was surprisingly simple. One quiet afternoon during rehearsal, an assistant struggled to adjust the neckline of her costume and eventually gave up. Cary stepped in, calm and unhurried, placing one hand lightly on her shoulder while the other carefully, almost intimately, adjusted the fabric. Every movement was slow, deliberate, and impossibly precise, as if he understood the effect he was having on her. Then came the line that nearly shattered her composure. "There. Now the world can look at you the way you deserve." Shirley later admitted, "He touched me like he knew exactly what he was doing to my heartbeat." And everyone around them noticed the warmth rising in her cheeks, the way she avoided his eyes, knowing she wasn't ready for the intensity waiting behind his. Cary wasn't bold like Sinatra. He didn't storm into a room or dominate it. Instead, he invited people into his presence, holding just the right distance, leaning in only when it mattered, lowering his voice just enough to make the moment feel private, chosen. Nothing about him was accidental. It was all elegant, devastating precision. At an industry dinner, he didn't comment on her dress or her beauty. He simply leaned in and whispered, "You carry the light, Shirley. I only reflect it." She nearly dropped her fork. Later, she said, "Cary Grant was the only man who could make me feel kissed without ever touching my mouth. He was a slow-burning temptation, the kind that doesn't explode instantly, but lingers deep in the spine long after he walks away." Paul Newman, the too-good-to-be-true gentleman who somehow awakened something dangerously alive inside Shirley Jones. Even she was caught off guard. Desire had never struck her so sharply, especially not for a man known more for kindness than fire. And yet, he became the third man she couldn't get out of her mind. What started it all was almost painfully ordinary. At a charity gala in 1964, just as Shirley was about to step on stage, blinded by flashing cameras, Paul appeared behind her. One steady hand rested on the small of her back, warm, grounding, and unexpectedly intimate. Her heart stumbled before she even understood why. Then he leaned in and murmured, "Easy, Shirley. I'm right here." No flirtation. No theatrics. Just a gentle touch that felt far too dangerous in its simplicity. Shirley later confessed, "Paul looked at you like he held your whole truth in his eyes. And that's a terrifying feeling." His gaze wasn't blazing like Sinatra's, nor calculated like Cary Grant's. It was genuine, earnest, and it cut deeper than any charm or bravado ever could. Another night, they spoke for less than a minute. Paul leaned forward with that quiet, knowing smile and said, "You soften a room just by walking into it. I hope you know that." Never had such a gentle line struck her so completely. It wasn't seduction. It was understanding, the kind that made her feel seen in a way she wasn't sure she was ready for. Paul's allure was magnetic in the quietest, most disarming way. A warmth that drew her in slowly, long before she realized how far she'd stepped. He didn't push, didn't pursue, but his sincerity pulled her closer with every encounter, until backing away felt impossible. And that was why Shirley later admitted, Paul Newman made goodness feel dangerously seductive, a soft, smoldering temptation that burned far deeper than she ever expected. Then came Dean Martin, the man who could undo her with nothing more than a smile. He became the fourth man Shirley Jones admitted she had fallen for, often before she even realized it herself. She was never supposed to feel anything for him. Dean was the effortless one, charming without trying, relaxed in a way that made the whole world feel lighter. And that was exactly the danger. He slipped past her guard so easily she didn't notice until it was too late. The moment everything shifted happened during a televised special in the late 60s. Backstage, Shirley was softly humming, getting ready for her cue, when Dean wandered by, stopped, stepped back, and said in that impossibly smooth voice, "Honey, don't rehearse. You sound better when you're just being you." Then he winked. Not the playful, public wink the world was used to, but a slow, intimate one meant only for her. Shirley later admitted, Dean could say one sentence and suddenly every worry you had just melted. But it wasn't only charm. Dean carried a quiet warmth beneath the jokes, the laughter, and the ever-present glass in his hand. That warmth was what hooked her. One evening, during a duet rehearsal, she stumbled over a lyric. Dean didn't laugh. Instead, he stepped in close, gently took her hand, and murmured, "Just follow my lead. I won't let you fall." It wasn't flirting. It wasn't calculated. It was instinct, and that instinct sent a jolt through her she never expected. Shirley later confessed, "Dean Martin made me feel safe in a way that was dangerously seductive." With Dean, attraction didn't strike like lightning. It drifted in, quiet and unshakable, until resisting it felt impossible. It drifted in quietly at first, a feeling so soft she barely recognized it before it rooted itself deep beneath her skin. Rock Hudson, Hollywood's gentle colossus, became the fifth man Shirley Jones admitted she fell for, not with fireworks or scandal, but with a pull she could neither name nor resist. Nothing about him was showy. He didn't seduce. He didn't try. And perhaps that was exactly why he disarmed her so completely. The moment everything shifted was so subtle most people in the room never even noticed. It was 1965, during a chaotic awards rehearsal. Shirley stepped down from a platform, caught the hem of her dress, and faltered for barely a heartbeat. Yet before she even registered the stumble, Rock's arms swept around her waist, firm, warm, protective, and achingly gentle. "Easy there, sweetheart. I've got you," he whispered. No flirtation. No theatrics. Just instinctive care that sent a slow, irresistible warmth flooding through her. She would later admit, "Rock held you like he understood exactly how to support a woman without drawing a single eye. That kind of strength is rare." People always talked about Rock's towering frame, his leading man looks, his screen magnetism. But Shirley discovered something far more dangerous, a tenderness that could stop your breath and speed your pulse at the same time. When he smiled at her from across the studio, it was like a soft pressure in her chest. And when he listened, truly listened, she felt a quiet recognition she had never known with anyone else. That feeling deepened one night at a charity gala, when the two were slated to present together. As the lights brightened and the hush of the audience washed over them, Rock leaned in, just close enough that only she could hear him. "Follow my rhythm," he murmured. "We'll glide right through it." Shirley wasn't prepared for how those simple words could steady her knees and unravel her heart. Later, she confessed, with Rock, desire didn't strike like a spark. It grew slowly, steadily, until resisting it felt impossible. And now, as Shirley Jones finally reveals the 6 men who left the deepest impressions on her life, which name stunned you the most? And which one did you secretly expect all along? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more hidden Hollywood stories just like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a single revelation. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.